Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us to stay curious today. Today's April 25th, 2024, and we had a new trio of Chinese astronauts rocketed off the Earth today. So I propose to you how many Earthlings are orbiting the Earth, where they come from, and just how interesting are some of these astronauts. In fact, as we speak here at 4 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, two of the Russian cosmonauts of the space station are performing a spacewalk, doing some routine chores on their outside of their module. I read it was the 250th spacewalk. I need to write something like that. 250th spacewalk at the International Space Station going on right now. And they always have two people, so that's 500 different human beings have now done, not different, a lot of repeats, but 500 human beings have now done a spacewalk outside the International Space Station. So here at the quarter way through the 21st century, things have become kind of commonplace in a way, and but yet space is very dangerous, and we hope there's no tragedies in the near future, but it's inevitable that some mishaps will happen along the way with our spacefaring planet. So got this beautiful green screen behind me. Thank you for choosing that. Selvin Trotter is on the board today as my good buddy Marty Winkle's on vacation. He's enjoying some of that good weather up there at the Blue Ridge Parkway with his family on the border of North Carolina and Tennessee. So, Selvin, thank you for coming in today. We're going to kick today's program off with our charity auction that we're doing about every 6 weeks now. The next one is May 4th, Saturday from noon to 5, virtually only. You can hit that QR code there beside my head, and that'll take you right to uh, the our website where you can be linked to the invaluable auction site that's run by Bid Again Auctions. Uh, Actually, it's the other way around. Invaluables running the Bid Again auctions that we uploaded there. And there's over 260 photographs on this one. A lot of moon and astronomical photographs from the space probes, like Ranger, Surveyor, that pioneered what the moon was like before we landed on it with the Apollo. There are some of the Apollo 11 images that will go for $300 or $400 there, as you see Buzz climbing down the ladder and putting up the solar panel and so forth. These classic images are rare, and when they come available, they're worth $300-$400, some of them. So check out. There's a lot of Hubble telescope images on there, and there's all kinds of other NASA spacecraft photographs on this auction by Bid Again Auctions. Chuck Jeffrey, the auctioneer, that's helped our museum so much. He's also a board member. I believe this is like the 27th auction that we've done in the last 7 years. 31. So, how many, Selvin?
31.
31, Selvin's correcting me. 31, all right. And this has kept our doors open without a doubt. Very important fundraiser for the American Space Museum. So please find it in your heart to go pre-bid. You don't even have to watch the auction. You can bid on one of those. Say you want that picture of Buzz going down the ladder there. Uh, any of those, maybe him standing by the lunar module number 5's leg. And you can say, I'll pay $500 for that. And because it's an original NASA photograph, not a lithograph. These come right out of the dark room at Johnson Space Center. But if you want to go 500 on that, you bid that in. But if only someone bids up to $350 and the next level's $375, you are in for $375. That's how it works. So bid till it hurts to help our museum. Well, here are the three taikonauts. That one's right behind me right there, that were launched this morning. You got two of them are named Li, L-I, Li Kong and Li Ganzhou. They are rookies. And the gentleman in the middle is his second trip to space, Yi Guanfu. So you got a Guanfu and a Guansu. And he's 43 years old. He had been to space previously, his second trip to their space station that they'll be docking with probably later tomorrow. They don't announce all their schedules per se, but as you see, it looks very similar to the Soyuz Russian cramped spacecraft. Indeed, the Shenzhou, Shenzhou 18, looks like this configuration when it's in space. Here's one of them approaching the Tiangong space station. The astronauts or taikonauts are in the middle part of that, the gumdrop looking thing. The other cylinders, the docking probe, and a little extra room for them to move around in. And then the back end is the trunk, so to speak, that's got the avionics and power systems in there. Now, I want you to just ruminate on this for a minute, all right? China launched their first human, Louis, it was his name, in October 2003, okay? That is 21 years ago. And in that 21 years, they have launched 22 or 21 more taikonauts since on 13 missions. This launch today was the 13th flight in the entire Chinese program. And they've taken up 22 different taikonauts, and 2 of them have been women. And one of the women's gone up twice. And I've been told by astronaut Rusty Schweikert in our building when he visited here that one of them women he thinks might be the first woman on the moon within 3 years, we're talking about, by 2027. So China has made no bones that they're going to the moon. They even have some posters now that are promoting it in their country. So we're going to end the anomaly of today that's kind of interesting. There's the new Chinese. Is these 3 are going to join 3 other taikonauts on their heavenly palace, Tiangong, that have been up there now for 183 days. All right, over 6 months. And so for the first time in a long time, there are more Chinese orbiting the Earth, 6, than any other nation. All right, and we'll break that down here in just a minute. But there's Li Zhuang and Li Kong. They are the rookies, and that adds up to 2 more humans orbiting the Earth in history. And we'll tell you how many the total is. You want to guess? Go ahead and guess, Dave Stange, how many humans have orbited the Earth now that we add 2 more to the total. Well, here's one of the Chinese astronauts on March 1st doing an unscheduled EVA. At the launch, they also announced that their space station had been hit by debris that hit one of the cables of their power system and knocked out over half the power on their space station. I didn't see anything in the news about this when it happened in February, as is the communist country of China is going to keep secrets. But here is a snapshot from the video that they released this week showing the astronaut walking. 2 of the astronauts of the 3 went out and repaired with new cables a hazard that happened because of space debris. Now, you know they brought that cable inside, so they know exactly what the space debris is, but they're not talking about it. But this is going to become more commonplace as we are risking lives of humans with all of this shrapnel that's orbiting the Earth. There's so much of it, 25,000 pieces I think they keep track of that are bigger than a marble, so to speak. Those of you that remember what marbles are, Selvin, you think anyone remembers what a marble is? Besides losing your marbles? You do? All right, a steel ball, a little glass little ball, all right, on there. But there's a lot of space debris up there, and then you add to it the 5,000 Starlink satellites that are orbiting Earth now by the SpaceX rocket that we saw the other day. And by the way, I was going to add that with today's news, but that launch that we saw yesterday or 2 days ago was the 300th time that SpaceX has brought back that first stage booster. 300 times. Now, I give NASA credit for bringing back 133 reusable spaceships. All right, so we have brought things back, but we didn't bring any of the. We brought the engines back and the solid rocket boosters, but not the fuel tank. So, but they have done 300 first stages. One of them's up to 20 missions. I think they're going to finally cap it off if anyone gets up to 40 missions on these boosters. And when you go out and see them at Port Canaveral, they're just charred and covered with soot, and they just clean them up a little bit. They don't even paint them up. Load them up with them 9 Merlin engines and fuel them up, and off they go again. So quite an age we're living in now, where every 3 days we can expect a rocket launch here on the Space Coast. But we've got 3 new humans that have left Earth and orbiting our beautiful planet. So how many is that total? Did you guess? Dave Stange and Robert Law and Tommy Usiak. Did you guess 617 humans have orbited the Earth since Yuri Gagarin in 1961, April 12th? Yep. 77 of them women. That's about 15%. All right. And there's the tally. There's everybody that's up there right now. 13 humans orbiting Earth. The record's 18, held briefly when the Axiom 2 crew, led by Peggy Whitson, undocked from the space station and deorbited. So we're going to go through these a little bit. 6 Chinese, 3 Russians, and 4 Americans. All right, there you go. The big 3 superpowers all have human beings orbiting Earth right now. All right. And we are not aligned with Russia. We're not aligned with the Chinese. But Russia and Chinese keep trying to get together. And Russia needs the Chinese because they're about broke in all aspects. And we hope they do go broke by the Ukraine war going on. So let's look and see in a little bit of detail who we got orbiting the Earth. The Chinese we've already talked about. I want to talk about Shenzhou 17. The Chinese that are on that include Tang, two cosmonauts named Tang. Okay, you can't make that up. Taikonauts, I mean. Tang Hongbo is 48 and Tang Shinji is 34. And they've all been up there with Ying Zhangling for 183 days. They're due to probably come back next week. All right. This Tangong is a lot smaller than ours. It's just like 2 mobile homes put together. So 3 new people, it gets crowded real quick there. But they'll keep them up there together for 3 or 4 days, go over the safety stuff and find out where they stash the good cookies and where the spacesuits are to take a spacewalk and all that good stuff, I'm sure. But this Tang Hongbo, 48-year-old Tang Hongbo, is quite a taikonaut. This is his 275th day in space and his 2nd visit to Tangong. So he and Yi Gunfo have both been up there, not the same time together, but they were up there at different times. So that's got to be interesting, to have that experience and look around and see what's different from your first visit. So that's the 6 Chinese up there. And keep tabs of when they're coming back. I'd say it'll be probably by midweek next week. But who we have up there on the International Space Station of our Expedition 71 crew is these 3 astronauts and cosmonauts who flew up on Soyuz MS-25 on March 23rd. So they've been up there a little over a month, 34 days. The one that's been up there 34 days is Tracy Caldwell Dyson. Okay, she rotated into this crew of Nick Chubb and Nikolai Chubb. Nick Chubb's a running back for the Cleveland Browns. We hope stays healthy this year. Oleg Konyenko over there. We're going to talk about him in a moment. You're looking at the most experienced human space flyer in the history of space flight, Oleg there. Oleg is now been in space 960 days, okay? and 224 of that has been with Chubb as part of the Expedition 69 and 70 crew, and they went up 6 months ago, obviously. They are going to stay up for an entire year and come back in September, late September. All right, so both of these cosmonauts are going to have a year total duration under their belt. Tracy Caldwell Dyson, this is her third trip to space. I mean, second. She was at STS 118, and Expedition 23 was her last mission in 2010. All right. She's waited 14 years to fly. Now, if she looks familiar to you, you've seen her a million times on NASA TV. She does the station life, and she's always, talking about working up there for down here type of benefits of mankind. So Tracy's very well seen before she went. 14 years she's waited to fly again. Why didn't she give up? Boy, that's the first question I want to tell her. But she's going to be up there until September also, when this whole crew will come back together on the Soyuz MS-25 that ferried her up, and one other cosmonaut, and that woman from Balasaris. All right. And they just stayed up there for 10 days and came back in MS-24 that Konyenko and Chubb rode up. So try not to be too convoluted, but this Oleg on the left there, 960 days in space right now. He's working right now on his 7th extravehicular activity as we speak this afternoon on April 25th. And he has been part of 5 International Space Station expeditions. So he's always gone to the space station on his 5 flights, and he's going to crush the duration distance. He's 59 years old, so he could possibly still fly again, because he's not the oldest person in space right now. In fact, the oldest person in space is technically a senior citizen, and I'll tell you who that is in just a second. But I got here a list of the 20 top humans in space according to Wikipedia. And of course, of the 20, how many you think are American? There, Selvin. The longest duration, the shortest here is 535 days. And then, of course, Oleg Konyenko is going to go down in history. He's already got 950 days, which is 960 days, which is 90 more than the next guy, Gennady Padlaka, who held the record for a long time of 878. Out of the top 20, two Americans out of top 20. Jeff Williams is the 20th with 535 days. And, of course, Peggy Whitson, 666 days in space for Peggy. So out of the top 20 people that have been in space the longest in the history of human space flight, 2 out of the 20 are Americans. So Sergei Krikalev is still up there, over 800 days, and Yuri Malenchko, 827, another famous Soviet astronaut, so cosmonaut. So I find this kind of facts interesting. Oh, as I look at my notes here, it says 270th spacewalk today. So that's 540 times that human beings have walked outside the International Space Station. Just incredible. And we need to do that to maintain it. And, I'm kind of a Star Trek guy over Star Wars, but I've never seen anybody doing an EVA for maintenance on any of these space shows, let alone seeing them in weightlessness, because I know they're supposedly anti-gravity stuff going on, the Star Trek vehicles. But, yeah, you never see anyone going on, I got to go out and do a spacewalk so we can change the ammonia tanks and keep this thing cooled down a little bit better. So, all right. So let's look at the other people on space right now. This is our SpaceX Crew 8 that were launched March 4th this year, 52 days ago. So they're really got sunk their teeth into what they're doing in space, and that includes a Russian there. Where is that Russian's name? What did I do with those guys? Okay, here we go. I got. Well, I love. Oh, there. Yeah, right in front of me here. Yeah, SpaceX crew launched March 4th. Matthew Dominic is the commander on the left. He is a rookie, 53 days in space. Okay. Um, Matthew is center right. On the left is the Russian Alexander Grebenkin. All right. Next to him is Michael Barrett with the big smile on his face and arms crossed. He is the senior citizen in space. He turned 65 on April 16th. Okay. So his inbox is getting filled with Medicare supplements and good cheap burial insurance there. Michael's been part of a shuttle mission before and an expedition, and he's got 265 days in space counting today. And then Janet Epps is the second black woman after Jessica Watkins to take up residence on the space station. She's been up there 53 days. So left to right, you got the Russian Alexander, and then you got Michael Barrett, the senior citizen, and then Matthew Dominic, who's the commander, and Janet Epps. And they've all got 53 days on this mission. And but like I said, Barrett is approaching 265, so he'll have over a full year in space by September. Janet Epps is very interesting. She was scratched from Expedition 56, okay, for unknown reasons, and it was obviously some personal reasons, and obviously not medical because she's in space. Then she was scheduled to be on Starliner 1, that we're going to talk about here in a minute, and she got taken off of that for some reason. I think when they just cut it back to 2 instead of 3 people. So she finally got her ticket punched to go to space. And like I said, incredibly, just the second black African woman, American woman after Jessica Watkins to take residence up there. There had been other African American women like Stephanie Wilson go up there, but they didn't stay as an expedition team. So those are our people in space. Expedition 71 well underway with our astronauts on board, and it is that will go till about September. All right, and then in early September we're going to have the launch of the next SpaceX crew that I thought I had there, but we're going to talk about this crew first. Yeah, what we're going to add up. Yes, we'll talk about Crew 9 here in just a second going up, but the Space Coast is now on alert that we've got our Boeing astronauts in the house, so to speak, as to the left there, Suni Williams and Barry Butch Wilmer flew in from Houston today. I saw their picture on the news as I was doing this show today, and we'll talk a little bit about them. Of course, Boeing Starliner had their first orbital flight, was plagued with lots of problems in December 2019. The configuration of the spacecraft was wrong. It got up to orbit, thought it was docking with the space station when it was a day ahead, and lost a lot of fuel, so it stayed in space and had a successful landing. Now, we know how they're going to take off, okay, on an Atlas V rocket. But we also know that they're going to land not on the water. They're going to land on a parachute airbag-assisted landing, quote, in Southwest USA. Today's story didn't say what part of Southwest USA, Utah, New Mexico, somewhere flat out there, that wherever their trajectory they choose. Butch is 61 years old. Now, this is, again, a little bit of a commentary. These are both very experienced astronauts with NASA. Butch flew on 2 flights previous to this, okay? He flew on a shuttle, and he flew on a Soyuz spacecraft. So now he's flying in his 3rd spacecraft, the Boeing Starliner. But he's got 178 days in space, 4 spacewalks, but he last flew in 2014, 10 years ago. Butch, you've been waiting for a decade to fly again. And he's 61 years old, and he's in his early 50s, and he's got 178 days in space, and he's thinking, I'm going to go to space 2 or 3 more times. And here he is, 61, waited 10 years to go again. Expedition 41 and 42 was the mission he was on 30 expeditions ago. Suni Williams, on the other hand, is even more of a. I just want to say, why does NASA want to not put experienced people up there and learn all they can? Her last flight was 14 years ago, 12 years ago, in 2012 on Expedition 33. Okay. Uh, 10 expeditions before Butch almost. She's got 322 days in space, 7 spacewalks, okay, on 2 different flights, STS-16 and a Soyuz flight up there. So she also, like Butch, will have had the shuttle, a Soyuz, and now the Starliner taking them up to space up there. So all we can say is Godspeed on this Monday, May 6th, a week from Monday, liftoff at 10:34 p.m. Okay, on the Space Coast. It's instantaneous, so if something doesn't launch then at 10:34, they'll queue it up again. But and they're in quarantine now here on the Space Coast, getting ready for this exciting mission up there. So we wish them well. I've always felt for Suni particularly that she's waited another 12 years. What an asset she could have been with her 322 days in space. Okay, that experience she had. So both of them together have got almost over 500 days in space together between the two of them. They're only going to stay up there a week. Of course, it'll be quite an experience for them all to see all the changes of the International Space Station, including the cupola. Neither one of them was up in the space station when the cupola was added in 2010 on STS-131, I believe. So wish them well and hope that they have a nominal mission, because Boeing needs that good shot in the arm with things that's going on in that airline company. So how many spacecraft do we have docked at the International Space Station, you ask, Selvin? Well, I'm glad you did. 6. Okay, there you got the Soyuz spacecraft. There's a Progress 86 and 87 are cargo ships. Cygnus 20 and Crew Dragon 30 are cargo ships, and there you got the Crew 8 there. So you got 2 crewed spaceships, 7 Soyuz over my arm right here, or there's my arm right there, and Crew Dragon 8. So Boeing's going to probably dock on the far side, I think. But come Sunday, they might dock where the Cargo Dragon is. Okay, in fact, they probably will dock where the CRS-30 is, because they're planning on releasing that no earlier than Sunday, and they bring that back as a reusable spacecraft, just like the Dragons are. So that's looking underneath the International Space Station at what is docked on there, 6 spacecraft. And next up in September, to give you a little preview of the SpaceX Crew 9, you have got you've got a rookie commander who doesn't have any aviation credentials. When I looked up her name, Xena Cardman, the blonde lady on the right there, if she will be taking her first trip to space, she is a spacecraft commander. She is a geobiologist by trade, and has no jets, no planes, no cargo ships, nothing to her credit that she's flown. So that gives you an indication that now the commanders are being chosen for their maybe management skills and people handling skills as a commander needs, and has nothing to do anymore with their ability to fly anything, because the Crew Dragon is an autonomous spacecraft with things on it that with emergency situations on it. My phone's ringing there. Just let it ring there, Selvin. That's okay. So so there's going to be two rookies. A Russian's going up. That's Alexander Gorbanov. He's standing up there. Sitting down's Nick Hague. Nick Hague is quite interesting. This is his third launch, but it'll be his second space flight. Why do I say that? He was on an aborted Soyuz launch that had to been a hairy situation, as the second stage didn't properly separate from the spacecraft, and they had to do a abort from orbit. Now he did get up to weightlessness, apparently they did, and everything worked out all right. And then a year later, Nick Hague took a space flight up to Expedition 72. He's got 200 days in space. And then many of you space geeks, of course, know the big smile there of Stephanie Wilson, one of NASA's finest space shuttle astronauts, as a payload specialist on 3 flights. She's got about 42 days in space, and she was the second African American to go to space, but behind a woman, behind Mae Jemison. So she's 57 years old. All right, so she's pretty long in the tooth for an astronaut, and she's waited around again for 10 years for a space flight. So a lot of valuable training there. This will be the 9th SpaceX operational mission in the Commercial Crew Program, and that is what NASA signed up the Commercial Crew Program to do, and that is to keep the International Space Station continuously occupied. So, anyone have any questions about our astronauts, or correcting me on some of those Chinese or Russian pronunciations? No.
They actually look like they're having fun today.
Huh?
They actually look like they're having some fun today talking to each other.
Yeah.
That's Dr. Who and science and astronaut.
That's right. Playing astronaut vicariously here today and having some fun. So look, you talking about these spacecraft orbiting the Earth, the International Space Station, Tiangong, Hubble telescope, the Starlink satellites for a while. They're all seen with the naked eye and look just like a bright plane light going across the sky. But the first thing you look for when you see a bright light traversing the sky is, one, does it have any blinking lights on it? And if it does, of course, it's an aircraft. If it's zigzagging left and right or turning left and right, that's obviously some kind of a plane or aerial phenomenon that we don't know about, UFOs, UAPs. But all of these are very bright, like some of the brightest stars in the sky, and they rival, the space station can get as bright as Sirius, the brightest star in the sky. But it just looks like a bright point of light steadily going in one direction, and you can see them very easily. There is an app for that. So I thought I'd load up a couple apps. Spot the Station is NASA's app, good for either any kind of phone you use, iPhone or Android, and it will give you an alert when to look up. And even lay a map out there, like right over here is the map to show you where it's going to pass over your area. And you can see it's north or south of where you live, so it'll be the north or the south. These are very accurate. There's several apps, just go to it. I've got one that is exclusively for the smartphone. It's called Space Station, I think, but it also gives you the rising times of the planets and other things like that. All of these you can custom tailor to what you want. So Spot the Station, very popular one. And I saw the other night, Selvin, the Tiangong space station go over, and it was from, of course, all these are going to start in the west and go to the east. So I saw it go from the northwest to the southeast, and then about 15 minutes later, the International Space Station went from southwest to northeast, and they would have made a cross in the sky if I would have photographed that. But And the Hubble telescope is easy to see. You're not going to see the Webb telescope because it's 1,000,000 miles from Earth, 4 times the distance of the moon. But the Hubble at 400 miles up is orbiting to where you can see it pretty good. It's not as bright as the space station, about the same as Tangong, actually. Also, another website is Heavens Above, okay? And Heavens Above has other information, but as you see, you configure it by putting in your observing location, either by knowing your longitude and latitude, or which you can find on your GPS on the phone somewhere, or just point to the dot where you live on there. You can get the star links. This is a good site too to key in when or any of the star links going to come over. And if you haven't seen a star links, the first day after they've been deployed, they are in like a pairs of a train going by. It looks like Santa's reindeer flying overhead, for better analogy. But as you see there's all kinds of spy satellites called Blue Walker, a North Korean satellite, the Hubble telescope. There's all kinds of things that you can see if you're patient enough. And that patience can be had by laying in a lawn chair, enjoying the evening cacophony of evening sounds from the insects and in the neighborhood and so forth that I enjoy listening to, and just getting immersed in the sky as you're looking up there, and you're going to see things that as your eyes adapt, down to maybe third magnitude. The brightest stars are first magnitude. So, and anything that you see that goes north and south is probably a spy satellite, okay? Because the spy satellites go over the North and South Pole, so the world turns beneath them, so they can go any hot spot around the world if they want to. So, and one other website that I enjoy on my phone, an app, is the ISS Live. And you can watch the cameras on the International Space Station. You'll get an alert when it's coming over America, so to speak, during the daytime. So I can look and see what the cameras are pointing at over the United States, and maybe sometimes even make out a city below. Of course, during the nighttime, you can make them out. And during the daytime, it's even fun to see some mountains or lakes that you might recognize. So here we are in the quarter of the way through the 21st century, and if you want to look at the Earth from a satellite, you certainly can, and the ISS Live is another way to do it. So, well, that's what we've got going on today. Let me put up there just a fact. Let me go real forward here. We got our auction on Saturday. We want y'all to remember auction time is important fundraising time for the American Space Museum. So that's one way that you can financially help of us. And this auction is all about flat photographs from spacecraft, from the Hubble telescope, from Surveyor spacecraft on the moon, lunar orbiter around the moon, Mars missions also are on this. So early Mars missions. So here we got, at this very moment, 13 earthlings orbiting the Earth. There they all are. We will once we get we'll revise this, of course, Monday. I don't know if the Shenzhou, a week from Monday, I'll bet Shenzhou 17 will be back. So then that would drop it to 10, and then we bring it up to 12 with Suni and Butch going up there. So hope y'all enjoyed learning a little bit about the human beings orbiting the Earth. I don't take it for granted, and I don't want you to either. This is quite an era we're living at. A baby boomer that I am, my gosh, you're lucky. The Gemini was so amazing when we had 2 astronauts going up every 6 weeks in 1965 and 66. That was very active. And then the Apollo missions, and then, of course, the shuttle era came in there. But at no time have we ever had 13 human beings consistently in space. And we did have 18 at once, and We'll always keep track of that for you. So tomorrow's Friday. We're going to dig up some more astronomy news, some shuttles of the month, maybe a surprise guest I'm working on. So until tomorrow, I'm Marquette saying I can't wait to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us. Keep looking